Hey guys, R9 here once again doing another toy review. So, last time we took a look at the S.H.Figuarts Kamen Rider new #1. So now, 2 years later, let's see if they changed anything with their original product. And of course, I mean 2 years later as of release date. Not reviewing this guy 2 years after I review Kamen Rider 1. So, let's take a look. So today we're gonna do a double review. As per usual, maybe. I don't know. I forget my old review standards. But yeah, we're gonna be looking at the S.H.Figuarts Kamen Rider Old 1 and his bike, the Cyclone. So we're gonna obviously look at Old 1 first. First as a packaging comparison. Now both of these packages use the same standard format that we are all accustomed to seeing. So I'll be mainly going over some of the differences. The first difference being the higher quality portrait on the front of the box. Now I still don't like the fact that it's crudely drawn on there, but the compound eye effect and a lot of the shading things look a whole lot better on Old 1 than it does on New 1. The text is also a lot thinner, and this time it's kind of a really dark gray instead of white. The window up here is a lot bigger now, and they took away the blurb, but then, both of these have the same layout. The bottoms, he still has the name, he doesn't anymore, and yes, this is a Bandai Asia release. There's nothing different with this from the regular Japanese release. The same copyright information, blah blah blah. On the sides, we have just about the same thing. The Ichigo lines, that's what I call them, on the side of the box are thinner and they're more closer together. Poor grammar, whatever. And the poses are drastically different. And finally, on the back, we have a couple more poses instead of just, with this picture of Ichigo standing still. And on the other side, we still have the continuation of the box. And as you can see, New Ichigo is a lot thinner. Old Ichigo is a lot thinner than New Ichigo. Maybe it's because the effect part included in this particular set is a little smaller. I don't know. But yeah, the box is kind of damaged because I took it on a ride to San Diego for some photography, and let's say it didn't really survive too well. So removing the box of stuff, we come across what's beneath this bright green color thing. We have the instructions sheet. This picture right here is copied directly from New 1, so yeah. And the gimmick surrounding the barrier destroying ball, as well as a survey sheet. The survey sheet has a code on it. I really don't care because this thing is past its survey date anyway. So this particular figure was released in 2013. This is exactly 2 years after the release of Kamen Rider New 1. I didn't bother picking up Sakurajima version because, as many of you may know, Sakurajima version only appeared for 2 episodes, and I don't think it's good enough to warrant a purchase. Old Kamen Rider Old 1 here only appeared in 13 episodes, but it is my favorite, and I think the definite version of Kamen Rider 1. So let's take a look at how he stands up. So here is the figure with the muffler attached. The muffler is it's detached in the packaging, surprisingly, instead of attached like New 1. So let's get my camera angle correct and take a zoom in on the figure. But first of all, before we do that, let's compare Old 1 to New 1. After I get the two of them to a semi-similar position. Now, since New 1 is still pretty new figure for me, the joints are going to be pretty stiff. So as you can see, there's a lot of differences between the two designs. Well, besides one of them falling over. As you can see, the helmets, I'm just going to bring them up close, no zooming the camera this time. The helmets changed quite a bit, considering, they're from the same series. As you can see, Old Ichigo's eyes are more far apart and they're in a different curve, while New Ichigo's eyes are more straight down in like a perpendicular in like a perpendicular fashion to the ground. The head also seems a little bigger on New Ichigo, but maybe that's just because of the antennas on here, which used to be, you know, pretty cool looking, and for New Ichigo here, they changed it to television antennas. The helmet design is also drastically different, and they have hair on the old helmet. Kamen Rider Old Ichigo uses the same body as Kamen Rider 2, and you can tell that because of the lines sculpted on here. But it is a good body. It is the same body as New One, but it offers a little less articulation because of a resculpted joint here, as I believe. Yeah, that's about all the differences up there. The new belt is a change. You don't have this thing anymore. You have a definite belt buckle. And the gloves, the overall length of the gloves and the boots are longer on Old One. Finally, the muffler piece here, it's not as big as and prominent as the one on New One. And this piece, even though it looks the same as the muffler piece of Kamen Rider New One, Old One actually has a smaller piece here as well. And as you can see, it's a different shade of red. So that's about it for the differences. My voice goes horrible sometimes. So let's get on to the articulation of the figure and what I like about the articulation of the figure. So, like New One, Kamen Rider Old One, I'm just gonna call him Kyu Ichigo from now because that's how you pronounce it in Japanese. So Kyu Ichigo has the same default head and neck joint. It's kind of hindered, as in you can't look as much upwards actually you can. It's the same with New One. But for New One, since it was hindered by the muffler, they shrunk the muffler, and now the problem is the hair on the back. But despite the fact that it's hindering articulation, I like the hairpiece on the back because this hairpiece is made of completely black plastic. So when it scratches up against the muffler, it doesn't damage the paint on the helmet here, which is painted on. I don't want it to scratch. As you can see here, some of the paint on the chin has been scratched. The hairpiece is also articulated, so you can move it back, forward and back, and move it to your liking. Another great thing is the fact that the muffler piece is, of course, smaller now, so the head peeks over the muffler instead of being hindered by it. But that does lead way to one of the poor things about the figure, which is the muffler. The muffler has a smaller connection joint. It's not a hood connection, as with New One's muffler. I'll take it off for a comparison here. As you can see, there's more of a knot here, and it ends up with a little, this thing. It's like a hood. But for here, if we put them in the same angle, the piece is much smaller, and this piece and the groove is not as thick. The female part of the connection joint is not as hollowed out as the male ball would allow, so it tends to fall out when you try to pose with it. After that, Old Ichigo has the same articulation in the upper chest, but it's a little hindered since I'm guessing it's because it's a new figure. You can't move it as backwards as New One. Kyu Ichigo also has a bottom hip joint, and I'll go over the body joints first in different order. And the belt also looks nice. There's some new stuff on the Kyu Ichigo belt that is not on the new Shin Ichigo belt. And my camera really likes to focus on the backgrounds for some reason. The legs are also using the same engineering, and they're extremely stiff because it's a new figure. But another thing that's different is that the inner leg piece, the inner leg sheath right here, is lacking the cuts that are on the new Ichigo limb. So I will take it out and show it to you guys. As you can see here, maybe you cannot see, there are cuts in the inner groove here, but for an old Ichigo, there isn't. Same double jointed knee and a foot joint. Which is another improvement from previously, because now you don't have this colored plastic showing through the joints, and since this is made of the same colored plastic as this, even though this is painted, the foot no longer gets scuffed whenever you try to pose it. I also like the fact that the sculpting on the boot has been limited to just a line. Come on, focus, camera. Don't fail on me now. Just a line instead of New Ichigo's this strap right here. I think it's a little. I think I like the simplicity a little bit more. Finally, we have the arm design, which is exactly the same as New Ichigo. But now you can tuck this arm in without any worries of scuffing paint because there's none to scuff. Unfortunately, this is not something I can say for Kamen Rider 02 because so you got the same great shoulder engineering here, as well as the double jointed elbow, and finally the wrist. And now let's take a look at the few accessories. And before that, we should look at the case differences. Now, if you've been paying attention in my new one review, you would know that the case of new one, it's a complete covering over the actual tray, but now it's just this sheet right here. It's kind of flimsy. But hey, you get the rider's face sculpted on it, so that's not bad. Looking at our effects parts here, we have a few more hands than we did back in New Ichigo's day. We have the relaxed hands, per usual. We have the rider chop hands, which came with the. Oh no, we have the 2 pairs of henshin hands now, unlike new one. We have 2 pairs of rider chop hands. We have 2 pairs of grappling hands, and we have a special hand and a bomb. Finally, and also we have a muffler and a default muffler, as well as the combat staff, or the rod as they call it, and the new rider kick effect. So let's try changing hands a little bit. I'm not gonna actually put this hand on old one, but I'm just gonna show you how this thing works. So here is the special bomb. This is the iconic bomb that was used by the monster Lizard Giron, or Tokagiron, in Kamen Rider episode 13. Tokagiron and the big Kaijin army. As you can see, it's kind of poorly painted. There could be some panel lining issues with it, but there's a panel here. There is a fake knob that can be popped out, revealing a weirdly shaped groove, which fits snugly onto Ichigo's interchangeable left hand for the scene where he's riding the motorcycle and he catches the mine, or for the aforementioned rider kick effect. The part is really snug, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to widen this part out a little bit because of the thing getting a little loose. That's a design problem because they emptied this thing out too much, and it's just really loose. It's not gonna come out, but yeah, I'm not gonna really risk it. So now let's get on to the effect part, which is this rider kick here. Now, if you are familiar with the Kamen Rider New One rider kick effect, you will know that that was just an empty sheath that you slip the foot through. Here, it's dual assemble piece with pegs on one end and holes on the other. Now, what you would do is you would take your Kamen Rider old one, and there are special grooves in the foot in the kick effect so that you can slide the foot in and then seal the other half on. And unfortunately, this is not a very, very tight seal, so what you need to do is you need to take the bomb and you need to shove it on his foot. So let's see if I can. Okay, I found it. Find the fake groove and then attach the bomb onto his foot sideways. Now, if I was in Bandai and I was designing this figure, I would have said just to make the freaking thing a triangle so you can peg it in any way you want to. But yeah, because there's no difference. Unfortunately, there's a couple of problems with this particular design. One is that you can only use it for the right foot, which is also a problem with the original. But since the feet were pretty similar, you can kind of make it work with the left foot. And also, the design is pretty haphazard because the foot likes to slip out, but it works. It works as a rider kick effect. You get the bomb and the impact part. It's made specifically for this bomb. And yeah, and you see it just slides out. Now, as my biggest complaint to this particular effect is the fact that they did it wrong. Kamen Rider Old 1 kicked the bomb in episode 13. It was a very, very spectacular scene, and but the problem was he kicked it with his left foot. Something that almost no other rider would ever do. Here, he kicks with his right foot. So while they got the hand right, because the hand he held it using his left hand, the kick, they did it wrong because logic. But yeah, as with that, since they share the same foot mold, Kamen Rider Old Ichigo can utilize Kamen Rider New Ichigo's rider kick effect part, like so. And since this effect part is pretty broad, it's pretty wide, you can also use it for the famous electric light rider kick effect. Which that's what this rider kick is called, even though it makes no difference with damage output because he never actually used it on somebody, except in the manga. But the manga can take himself anywhere. So let's try putting it in. The left foot fits snugly, and he can kick with his left foot now. It works. Since old Ichigo has a pair of holding hands just like new Ichigo, he also comes with a weapon. Not including the bomb, which is not really even his. I mean, he has no weapons in general, but changing hands on old Ichigo is the same as the previously released Kamen Rider New Ichigo, which I've been referencing back to for so long. By removing the holding hands, like I am, using a pick or a semi-screwdriver, I don't even know what it is, you can peg it on. It's a little hard to peg it on, but it's not a big deal. Pop off the hand, and pop on the holding hand. Now I'm going to keep Rider 1 here in his holding hands because of the later to be demonstrated Cyclone, which I'm pretty sure you are all very interested in seeing. And it comes with this bow staff. Now this bow staff is not as self-explanatory as putting in the Shocker Combat Man sword. You actually have to force this horrible thing in. It's a poor design, and the instructions don't really tell you how to put it in at all. Like, you just have to be lucky or just use your brute strength. Like, you're gonna bend this thumb a lot, so I don't recommend using this pole a whole lot. Since he only used it in the first episode in his iconic fight against Kumo Otoko's, or Spider-Man's, sack of, bunch of goons anyway. I call them, they're Shocker Combat, they're first generation Shocker Combat Men, and you know, if you saw the original Kamen Rider, you know they were an absolute joke. Like, not even to the how ridiculous Shocker Combat Men look now, because you know now they look like luchadors, but back then they were just civilians in fedoras with face paint. That was basically the original Shocker Combat Men. But it works. Rider 1 can wield his Donatello pole like a pro, so he can fight the Ultraman that he's supposed to fight, and he did fight with in his ratings, Ultraman Jack, because they both had weapons. So removing this pole, I hate this pole. I hate how you have to put it in, because the instructions don't even tell you how to. That's my biggest gripe. So we can clear all of this out, and we can look at the S.H.Figuarts Cyclone. Now, Cyclone uses the same type of font style, I believe, as Kamen Rider Old 1. I'm not going to bring that box out because it's disassembled. Using the same thing, the top box. There's no name on the bottom, yet again. Bandai, Hong Kong. Or Bandai Asia, really. Cyclone on the side. Cyclone Tachibana Racing logo. And the back, where you see him riding this thing, and to piss you off, they say S.H.Figuarts Kamen Rider Kyu Ichigo. I don't even know how to read that anymore, but this kanji under. But it basically means Kamen Rider Old 1, it's sold separately. What a douche. You just have to tell the kids that, or the adult collectors that. So let's remove the Cyclone from his plastic prison. The box is roughly the same thickness as the old Ichigo box, so there's not a big problem there. Let's take a look at the instructions and the survey sheet, which is the same print as the new Ichigo survey sheet in Chinese, because this is Bandai Asia. And here is the instructional sheet showing you stuff. Alright, so let's take out Cyclone, and again, it's just this big plastic tab. Ultra definitely does it better. And here is the Cyclone. So yeah, it's a nice looking bike for S.H.Figuarts standards. This is my first S.H.Figuarts bike after all, and I'm glad I actually chose this bike over the Kamen Rider, the first and next versions, because I hate those movies and I really can't stand getting those bikes. So let's take a look at the bike. I don't really go over detail on these figures too much, but this is all about the detail here. So we got the plastic dome on top. It's clear. It's not too shiny. It's just reflecting light right now. The two yellow lights on the front are transparent. The Tachibana Racing logo is promptly on there. The wheels are done correctly. They're using the bike suspensions where you can shrink the size of the wheel if you feel like it. The side of the wheels are done correctly. There is an extra groove on this side of the wheel. The wheel. The back has everything you need. It has its turns, you know, for a rider to do some, you know, turning action and like spray dirt everywhere and be masculine. You got the actual bike's shells in there. This is basically a bike with a shell on it. The engine block, the real mufflers, and two pairs of fake mufflers. The back wheels, the working suspension. It actually works. You can see the thing shrinking inside there. It's got some paint scuffs on it already because of, you know, usage during outdoor shooting. The handlebars, the back has the paint decals, and yeah, it's an overall nice looking vehicle. On the very back we have the seat here, like so. It's removable, as well as the handlebars. The handlebars are also removable, and there's a reason for that. So let's take a look at the accessories. One of the accessories is this particular bike stand. It doesn't peg onto the front wheel because the front wheel isn't fat enough for it. It pegs onto the back wheel instead, so you can have the Cyclone stand still without the working kickstand. The kickstand is kind of weird because when you have it down, it only stands on either the front wheel or the back wheel. This time it's wanting to go on the back wheel, so I tend to have this thing on because I don't like the kickstand on. There is no diecast on this one, unfortunately. Most S.H.Figuarts bikes have diecast, but this one doesn't. The seat is removable. This is the default fat seat, and here's the alternate slim seat. What difference does it make? What does it do? I don't know. I really don't care for it either. The handlebars are removable by simply pushing them inwards like so to nudge them off of the hexagonal clip that they're on. Like so. They're a little hard to remove. There we go. Every time I try to remove them, I feel like I'm gonna break it, so after switching it this time, I'm not gonna really switch it again. And this one came off easier because it was just improperly assembled because I'm an idiot. These are the extra handlebars. As you can see, the black handle is actually separated from the silver right here. Here are the defaults where they're actually connected. So let's peg these on. You can differentiate between the two by the letter stamping on them. For example, this is the right handlebar indicated by that little letter R on there. Yes, as you can see, and it simply pegs on. And unfortunately, the front of the bike is a little big, so it's a little hard to peg it on. But it's no big deal. You can peg it on still fine if you have enough patience for it. That is. And you don't feel like snapping the thing in two once you're done with it. It's a little risky, and I don't really like doing this too often, so I'm only gonna do it, couple once or twice for, you know, showing purposes. And trust me, the instructions don't really tell you how to do it either. This is bloody difficult. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So, to avoid not having a Cyclone without one of these on, I'm just gonna try and assemble. Let's see, am I even doing this right? That's the problem right now. If I'm doing this wrong, I'm so screwed. Ah, yes, I'm doing it wrong. It was on the. I'm trying to peg it on the wrong side. The instructions show me a transparent Cyclone, so I thought it was supposed to look this way, but no, you're supposed to look the other way. Probably should have figured that out by myself, because if I did it the other way, the letter would be showing. There we go. And now let's take the other handlebar and peg it on. There we go. Now it's smooth and crystal clear. So let's pop these back in the correct fashion, of course. And here we go. And that's all you need to really know about the Cyclone. So let's see some rider riding on bike action, because that's what the original Kamen Rider was known for. High steroid pumped action for the male audience. That didn't really include me at the time. But but you can tell. I like the song so much I sung them so much that my voice is just dropping like freaking crazy, because these songs were sung by freaking guys in baritones. Yeah, baritones. I'm telling you, it's baritones. Come on. Nah. So yeah, let's get on with the riding of the bike. Now, unfortunately, Ichigo can't ride this bike like he does in the show because of the limited articulations of this particular figure. And I'll show you why in just a few seconds after I finish adjusting it. There's not a real way to peg this guy on or anything like that. It's, you know, for realism, he just sits loosely on the bike, which is kind of unfortunate, but I get why they went for it. Now, this is the type of bike I'm talking about. This is the type of like motorcycle that I really enjoy. And unfortunately, I'm doing a pretty botchy job of it. So yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. But I suck at putting him on a bike, and especially in front of the camera, where, you know, I get nervous. So let's see, did that work? Kind of did. Let's straighten his chest a little bit, push his legs in as much as they would, and then fold the feet out a little bit in the way their legs are going, like so. Have them look up. And there we go. We got Rider 1 successfully and finally on his bloody bike. This review is really dragging. Now, this kind of looks like what you would normally do when you're riding a bike. I mean, you know, this is Kamen Rider after all, and there's some suspension of disbelief involved in doing this. But there's a reason why I say he doesn't ride it like he does in the show. And this reason really pains me, because I really wanted him to ride the bike like he did in the show, but unfortunately he cannot do that. Now I'm gonna take new one and use him as a demonstration as to how he does it, because I don't want to take him off the bike. And oh my god, I think I snapped his neck and killed him. I'm sorry for Hiroshi Fujioka, but I think I killed you. Nah. Yeah, let's get him on the way S.H.Figuarts advertises him to be on the bike. Now this bike is, of course, since he's compatible with Rider 1, it's also compatible with Rider 02, because they both rode this bike. And yeah, I have to say, it looks pretty nice. Unfortunately, the muffler doesn't want to stay on. That's the downside, but that's not what Cyclone, that's what the figure. So let's try putting... Bloody hell! Bloody Sengoku. Sengoku Doraiba. Yeah, watch Gaim. I'm telling you to watch Gaim. I'm not paid to do this, but I liked Gaim, so watch it. Just saying. Don't leave any comments on that though. That's just, you know, filler talk. Ah, bloody hell. Eh, whatever. Just have him like this. Come on. There we go. Perfect. So want to see how Rider 1 actually rides it half the time in the show? You know, when he's doing it right. When Rider 1's doing it right, he does it like this. Let's take New 1. He flexes his back backwards. He pushes his legs all the way up to the front, like even farther than this, kind of. And then his chest lies flat on this part, like so. So that's why you see you can't do it with S.H.Figuarts, because his legs don't bend all the way up that much. That's unfortunate, but it's unavoidable as part of the S.H.Figuarts treatment. So let's get him on the bike this time with the muffler, so you know he looks good and he looks proper. Oh my god, I am sorry guys. This muffler, it's trying to kill me. I'm telling you, it's trying to murder me on video or on camera. All right, let's get this thing on. And of course, while he's on here, since he has ab articulation, you can make him turn the wheel, as he is doing now, slightly, because that was done unintentionally. And yeah, that's about all I'm gonna have him do. So in the end, what do I think of this set? I love it. I love this set because Kamen Rider Old One fixed all the mistakes and all the problems I have had with the previous Kamen Rider 1, which I was stuck with, which was New One here. Even though I think New One is still a fantastic figure, I cannot deny the fact that Old One just blows it out of the water. The amount of accessories it includes, the amount of stuff it includes, the how faithful it was to the episode, minus the fact that Tamashii Nations is being a douchebag by not making an S.H.Figuarts Tokagiron, you know, for throwing the actual freaking bomb, or, you know, making a S.H.Figuarts of Kumo Otoko, or Spider-Man, because he is the first Kamen Rider Kaijin, and you know, you're not gonna exactly get sued by Marvel for doing this, you know. Besides a few minor complaints like that, I don't have any legitimate complaints about this particular toy. It's done very well, very faithfully, minus the color maybe a little bit, because the color isn't that necessarily that deep blue that you see on the RAHs and stuff like that. But I like it. I think it's a nice color, especially since this thing was shot in like 16mm film, so the film grain definitely makes them look this color. The new suit that they recreated in 2007 or something like that doesn't look like this at all, of course, but no, that was 2007. And you can do this. You can do the Rider stuff. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. For both of these guys, I give them 10 out of 10s. Both. Heavily recommended. I got this pair for $60, and I do not regret spending a single penny. So, this is Yao 9, and yeah, maybe I'll see you guys on my next review, which I'm going to tease you now with, is Ultra Act Ultraman Jack. Yeah, see ya.